Welcome to Focus on Business, a podcast show for photographers with me, your host, Jane Goodrich. I'm talking to successful photographers so you can learn from our experiences and have the business of your dreams. So join us and let's focus on business. Welcome to today's episode of Focus on Business. And we have the fantastic Aubrey Westlund, and her website is aubreywestlund.com. Go to it. It's absolutely amazing. I will turn it over to her, if you haven't heard about her, to tell us a little bit about yourself, fascinating information about the wedding industry and also passive income in photography, which I find fascinating. And I'm so excited to hear more about it today. Welcome.
Yes, Jane, thank you so much for having me. Like you said, I am a stock photographer now, but in the beginning of my career, I started out as a wedding photographer. And I did that for about 10 years until I slowly transitioned to doing only stock photography. And now I work with other photographers to help them start their stock photography portfolio and their passive income streams. And yeah, my passion is really educating photographers on how to diversify their income.
I love that. Let's rewind a little bit. How did you get into the wedding photography business? Why photography? What was the trigger for you?
Right. Well, I'm actually one of those rare people that studied photography in school. I have an art degree, and I learned in the darkroom doing film photography. I actually didn't learn a lot about digital photography in school, which is funny because digital camera, I'm not that old, right? Digital cameras were out. Yeah, exactly. But, in art school, they like to teach you the processes and the fine art side of things. So I did that, and I was actually more into graphic design at the time. But of course, it was the story where a friend of a friend asked, do you know anyone that knows photography that can shoot my wedding? And so, of course, my friend thought of me. I was very interested in the idea of shooting weddings, but I had no idea how do people get into that. So I just kind of lucked out in that way. And I shot my first wedding and I just loved it. I loved just the whole process of capturing someone's day, helping them to remember it through the lens of your camera. So that's how it started. And I loved it so much that it took off from there.
That's amazing. So you sort of lucked out in a way of starting your business. So you have that first wedding. And how did it sort of evolve from there? What were the steps that you took to build your business? Or was it winging it like most of us?
It was definitely winging it. I learned about Lightroom as I was editing those first wedding photos. It was a lot of winging it, but also there was a little bit of strategy. I actually moved somewhere in California where I knew that I could shoot weddings year round because where I'm from, we have a long winter and it's a small state, not very populated. So I said, I want to get as much experience as I can while I'm young and ready to hustle. So I moved to San Diego just so that I could work with a lot of people. And I also believe in doing portfolio building jobs for free. So my first few weddings in San Diego, I did for free. And I kind of have this mentality that I'll do it completely for free, no discounts, no anything, if I can use this for my portfolio. But I only did that a few times. And then I was able to get work from those few weddings.
What's interesting about that is there's a way to do it portfolio building. You can also do it via second shooting or anything like that. I did something similar. I am playing with my camera. I am not a kid photographer. When I first started out, I'm not charging. The reason why I'm not charging is because I don't want them to know my prices. So they tell everybody else, I know. That's funny. So what I would do is I calculated what I was going to charge. Here's the contract because I still wanted the contract. And I also got control over more of the shoot for my portfolio. I think it's a really good way. I don't think you should be doing it more than 3 times, especially for weddings. That's a lot of work. But you have to invest in yourself. And if they know it's for free, they know that something might go wrong. their expectations are different versus I'm just going to cover my costs, and they're paying $1,000 when really then they have expectations of it. That's interesting. So
I think I did the same thing with my contract. So they knew the value that they were getting. It wasn't just, oh, she's learning and I'm taking a big risk on her.
Right. What has been your favorite form of marketing over the 10 years of doing your wedding photography business? I know you do the stock photography now.
Right.
What do you love to do in terms of marketing?
When it comes to my wedding photography business, I think that making your clients really, really happy is a very undervalued form of marketing. But if you looked at my social media accounts now, you would never guess this, but I was so afraid of Instagram when I was a photographer.
Afraid of it.
I was so afraid to show my face on Instagram. And now I'm fine with it because I've put so much practice into it. But when I had my wedding photography business, it was almost all just word of mouth and referrals, and just going the extra mile to make sure that your clients are happy, make sure that their friends and family are happy, the wedding vendors you work with, that goes a really long way. When I had that business, I hardly did any marketing at all, besides posting on Instagram once a week and keeping my website updated and things like that.
I remember when I first started out, I would do events, just going that above and beyond. I remember one I had, it was a 16th birthday party, massive birthday party. I could see, I mean, first of all, they were eating at this time and they were standing up. But I saw that there was nowhere to stand. There's tables all the way down there. So I just started moving the tables, and they were, thank you. And it's not hard. I'm not shooting right now. Right. I'm shooting people eating. Gross. So it's that little things. People are saying, oh, you have to provide a great client experience, but how do you do that? It's just being human. And you're like, I'm here to help the day. Okay, someone in having, as a wedding photographer, having that kit, the safety pins, something's going to go wrong. When I did birthday parties, I think I have an aversion to them, because when I first started, I'm going to help you get these kids that are screaming for the cake. I need the cakes on the table anyway. I'm going to dish it out because everyone's screaming for a cake and I can't stand it. So, and they're like, thank you. And like, I got emails from people that the parents were at the event being like, I saw you and you were like so amazing. Were you an event coordinator and photographer? And I was like,
right.
No, I just wanted it to go smoothly for my family. And it's like the tiny things. They're not that hard to do, like moving a table and helping now cake.
And usually you're helping the people that can get you more jobs. Imagine you're at a wedding and you saw the wedding planner struggling to move a table and you just went over and offered to help her. They're like the gatekeepers. They can refer you to all their clients that are looking for photographers. Right. So like it's those people that are just as important as your clients.
And it's not like bending over and giving them a million images or doing that. It's actually on the day of the event. Just going.
It's the unexpected details, right?
Yeah. One of the questions that I want to get to is, I love the fact that you moved. So you didn't have a seasonal business. That was like one question I had. Yeah, just move. By the way, all wedding photographers, seasonality, move.
I actually moved back.
So you're not doing as many. Did you ever see any red flags for clients? Okay, that person is not going to be for me. Well, did you have red flags that you, like, spidey sense go off? Some people do.
I think that I would say like 90% of the time when people introduce themselves asking for a discount, I hate to say that, but they often ended up being the clients that didn't respect my time or trust me. That trust is important. And because you're willing to lower your price, often they would correlate that with, oh, she's not as valuable, even though they ask for the discount. I had a few instances where I offered the discount and I have my boundaries with that, but I hate to say it, but they're always the red flags. It's the people looking for discounts or like price shopping.
Yeah. For me, I think it's more the inquiry form, like how much or something. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I like your work too. In where I live, there are a couple of cultures that I think people grow up and they always, is that your best price? So I kind of have
True.
had people, so I'm like, no, it isn't. And so, I mean, I don't discount. You like it or you don't. And then if they take it, they're like, oh, okay, fine. Then they book it and they're fine. But so for me, I just had to realize that's how they were brought up. But then I just don't discount because I just, I'm not going to discount just because you ask for a discount. I'm not going to do it. I can choose to do it different.
Yeah, I think there are ways around it. And there have been a couple situations where it involves the parent had been diagnosed with cancer and given a few weeks or a few months, and they had to move everything up. They didn't really have the budget that they were planning to have.
Right.
And I just go with my gut in those situations. But
absolutely.
For the most part,
I
would just say no too.
Yeah. Have you had any really funny experiences on a shoot where no one would believe this would happen, or a nightmare client, or the best wedding that you've ever photographed? Tell us one of those stories. Might be a few.
I didn't say this, but it's actually been 4 years since I shot a wedding.
Right.
I know that my most terrible moment at a wedding, it was early on, and I lost a bride's pearl earring while I was shooting her jewelry.
Oh, gosh.
And it was just one of those gut-wrenching moments. It was one of my first weddings, and everyone was looking for this pearl earring, and I'm just wanting to die. I feel so terrible. That client ended up becoming one of my best friends because she was so kind and gracious about it, even though her mothers, they were not happy with me, which is valid. I was not happy with myself. It definitely taught me be so careful when you're handling anything of your clients.
Did they ever find it?
Never found it. I replaced them for her because I felt so bad, but it was just awful. They were a gift from her aunt. I felt so terrible.
Did you have to Photoshop the earring in the ears? Like the missing earring? Or did she?
No, she wore different earrings.
Okay.
And she hardly cared, or at least she acted like it was not a big deal at all. But it was, because it was a family member. The other women were very attached to this idea, which, it was a total beginner, huge mistake. And I got really, really lucky.
I mean, how many times?
I learned.
You lose earrings all the time. I mean, it's not
often like people will hand it. They'll just be like, here's her stuff. And I think they had it on a book. All her jewelry was sitting on a book because they wanted me to take the photo on the book. After that, it was, can we put this in a box or, something.
Yeah.
I learned. So I
had something similar. It was a newborn shoot. Not similar, but a newborn shoot. And when you photograph babies, normally they sometimes have the little umbilical stump still on the baby.
Yeah.
And so I'm photographing the baby, and the baby still had the stump on it. And they go to change the diaper, and there's no stump. It's fallen off. Well, the mom wanted to keep it. Why? Like some people like to keep it. She's like, where is it? Where is it? And I looked all in my, it was in their home. I'm looking everywhere. I cannot find it. And I was, look, the last picture I took, the baby had the stump. So between you carrying the baby to the thing, and so there was this whole drama, and then you turn around and there's the dog.
Oh no!
Well, at least it wasn't me. But she was a little devastated from it because she wanted to keep it. But then they were more worried about the dog choking on this thing than anything.
Right.
But I don't know if I could have done anything differently there. The only quick thinking I did well was just really quickly pull up the camera. The baby had it on.
Yeah, that's true. That was a good call.
Very, very angry. Oh, the losing things. That was kind of a very odd situation. What would one tip, your friend down the street, she wants to start a photography business, what would the tip be that you would give her? You can have 2 or 3 tips. It's always the case.
Well, I will tell you.
Do it. No, I'm just kidding.
No, not at all. I think it's great. You mentioned second shooting. I actually never did that. And I think I missed out on a lot of learning and probably skipping a few steps if I had done that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find a mentor or a coach or someone like that, I think that can be just so valuable. An internship, especially if you want to do weddings,
Mm-hmm.
that is a great way to learn. And then in hindsight, 10 years later, I definitely wished that I had started stock photography sooner, because that was, for me, it filled in the gaps during the slow seasons. I also think that there's a lot of benefits to networking with other businesses by taking photos for them for stock, and they get free photos because they'll sign a model release for you. So there's a lot of things like that I wish I had built into my business sooner and made that a big priority, because then 8 years down the road during COVID, that was my only income.
Right.
Pretty much for the whole year, because working in California, everything was locked down for like a year. So even though in other places you could still work and shoot weddings, all the venues shut down and
Oh, no.
all those
everything
things. So stock photography, that was my income. That was
Yeah.
my main source of income at that time.
Yeah,
So-
I think that's a really valid point going into it. Even if like you're a newer photographer, you have a full-time job. I like to say is get all your ducks in a row before you leave, because
Yeah.
you don't have that fallback. Have a savings account. I had a savings account. I always had a business savings account for those emergencies in case I needed to have surgery, in case I was going, and of course
Absolutely.
I just got a new studio, renovated like crazy in the end of 2019. So my business savings was a little bit depleted. And then on top of that, I'm in New York and we were right by ground zero of New Rochelle. I'm literally half a mile from it. We were shut down. I'm like refunding. No one can have newborn shoots, refunding. I'm $10,000 out the door. I had zero business savings. This is insane. But
How did that happen?
yeah. I don't spend people's deposits before they make it. So I was okay. I wasn't like other photographers. I've already spent that deposit. I can't give it back. Well,
Right.
and so, I do call it retainer, but they can fight it. And I just thought it was the right thing to do at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'd have passive income streams, whatever those are, because I'm full time, I still think that that's a really great way to have, okay, maybe my passive income stream is doing something on Etsy. It's just stock photography. It might not even be related to photography. It can be,
Right.
or just a backup. You need a backup. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But I do love
Absolutely.
I love stock photography. I'll have to take your course and you can tell us how we found it. But I've dabbled in stock photography.
Yeah.
Very
Ask me
successfully.
anything you want to know.
In wrapping up, this has been amazing. And tell us where our audience can find you.
Yes, so I'm Aubrey Westlund on all social platforms. I'm definitely the most active on Instagram. I have a podcast called Creative Abundance, and I'll have to have you on. We'll have to do a little podcast swap. So you can listen to my podcast. I don't know when this is coming out, but in April, it's a boot camp. It's called Lazy Girl Stock Photography Boot Camp, and it's going to be for people who can't finish courses. I've been there. I've been one of them. So I kind of created this as a way for you to get started. It will be really fun. We'll have a 14-day photo challenge. All the course content will be on daily private podcasts, so you can listen to it, driving to work every morning. And then we'll have a Facebook group where I can answer all your questions. So it's going to be just like a really easy way to get into stock photography, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully you hear about this before then, but I like to do little smaller workshops and challenges throughout the year. So if you miss it, just follow me and you'll get to join the next one.
I think the challenge is great. And I think just even like your academy and all the information that you give out is amazing. So I definitely think that everyone should check you out. And we will put all the information in the show notes, including, where to find you and all of the courses and education that you have. And so I
Perfect.
Love it. Thank you so much for coming on to focus on business. It was a definitely good focus today. I appreciate it. Thank you.